Listen up, all you merry men and women. I'm Bill Brio, and welcome to another episode of Brio TV, the podcast. On this episode, I'm talking with two of the key players from the new global young adult drama, Robyn Hood. The Shot in Toronto series reboots the old Sherwood Forest legend with a young female Robyn who leads a masked hip-hop band known as, you guessed it, the Hood. They're up against an evil condo tycoon named John Prince, who's in cahoots with the scary Sherriff of New Nottingham. Does the new Robyn and her hip-hop hood steal from the rich and give to the poor? You bet your ass she does. The series was co-created by the red-hot music video director Julien Christian Lutz, better known as Director X. I'll have that conversation later in this episode, but first, let's hear from the star of the series, Jessye Romeo. Born in London, she's been in such series as Grace and Pennyworth. I spoke with her last June at the Chorus Upfront in Toronto. Well, Romeo, that's works perfectly. Robyn Hood, Romeo, covering all the classics.
Romeo, wherefore thou Romeo.
Nice. Have you ever played Romeo and Juliet?
I have. When I was younger training, I did some Juliet. We did a mishmash at one of my college places, and I had some Juliet monologues. I love Shakespeare though.
And did you train in the UK?
I did, yeah. I trained in Meisner in the UK under a practitioner who's wonderful called Che Walker.
Wow. And
I was in the National Youth Theatre, and so that really is my background. I love being on stage.
Yeah, fantastic. Where is this shot?
It's shot in Toronto and
right
in Hamilton.
Here. Oh, okay, yeah. Very good. And obviously, when you watch the show, there's no trace of your London, your accent.
No.
Is our accent something that you're proficient at?
I should hope so now. Yeah, we didn't know really in the beginning, and it was, and we started to really get specific with Toronto, rather than it being sort of some general North American. We kind of really went there, and I studied quite a few different voices and worked with the most incredible dialect coach, Ria Nolan. I cannot sing her praises enough. She's an angel on earth. Yes, she's Toronto based.
Wow.
She's worked on a lot of shows and with some incredible actors, and yeah, she really helped me.
And is it, you have to flatten your vowels? You have to Toronto? You have to kind of...
I don't know what I did. We were finding those sounds in my mouth, and we would spend a lot of time listening to some voice references and podcasts and things like that. And then I just kind of had to go for it. I decided after my first 2-hour session of voice coaching that I would stay in the accent for the foreseeable, and I stayed in it 24/7 for 6 weeks in the beginning of shooting, and then I would give myself the weekends off, but I pretty much stay in the accent for 5 months.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Leave no stone unturned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very stylish, very provocative opening. I've only seen the first episode.
Yeah.
We've all heard a lot about Director X. What is it about his work that maybe, where does he go that's more stylish than most, I guess?
Well, of course, given his background, he has an incredible visual eye. But he's also a deeply passionate person who cares about the messages, the social justice side of, Robyn Hood and kind of those things that we're pushing. And so kind of the combination of those things, put together with all of the incredible creatives that we collaborated with. And it was really a collaborative process. I've never worked on a show where I felt so kind of seen, and I think all of the actors would say that there was definitely the kind of space to be allowed to express yourself and what you felt about your character, and kind of add all of those like nuanced details. There's, X has such an eye for detail, just down to the minutia of the accessories that your character would be wearing and why and what's important about them. So yeah.
Well, you're called upon to do a lot of physical work, right? You pick up the sticks and you're doing and did you do a lot of training in that?
It was so hard. Sticks. I kept whacking my fingers with them in training. And I was like, can I have the one with the foam? And then, of course, when it came to the day of shooting that scene, I was like, ow. It looks, shout out to my stunt double as well, because, it was not easy. It was not easy, but I definitely put myself through really rigorous kind of physical training, because Robyn's a fighter. Yeah. And, I did some MMA things. I did boxing. I did some self-defense.
Wow.
And also the regular training of weights and sprinting. And I think some sessions that we do for stunts would be like 3 hours in the gym. So 3 hours of stunt training and 2 hours of dialect coaching a day. You're pretty tired after that. Yeah.
Well, everybody looks great on screen, you do obviously, but the hood, it's a very good looking show. It's provocative, and I have kids that are 30 and 33. My daughter's 33, Dan's 30. So I check with them on a lot of stuff that's not particularly aimed at me, I guess, right? Because they have a perspective that matches it. Part of it to me I wonder outside of Toronto and the GTA how this show will play, because it really seems that the characters are very black and white. The white characters are, it's like a bit of a big comic book, right? But they're the sheriff is just a horrible person,
played by a wonderful actress named Kira, who does it so well.
Oh my
she's
God.
So lovely.
I was scared. I was scared just watching. But the cops are, like killing people, horrible. Like it's just,
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Sorry. Did you get many notes from the network, or did people just let you go with the vision on this?
I remember at one point them perhaps feeling like my accent was good, like while I was still working it out, like I was going like too specific in one direction, and so they kind of like, we did a bit of like a more like reining in of that. But beyond that, no, we really got to represent kind of like the culture as authentically as we possibly could, even down to the detail of like the heritage, of Robyn. Of course, Toronto is a city where you have a lot of West Indian immigrants. My grandfather and his brother and his brother's wife were here at one period of time, so my mum grew up in Toronto. And we decided, or it was decided kind of before me, it was a really great surprise that they wanted to honor my own heritage through the character of Robyn, and make Robyn also come from an Antiguan background. So you have these little touches on set, which is probably the thing that I feel like the most pride in. That there's an Antiguan flag on the back of Robyn's door, which is basically what I had in my house growing up in London. It's kind of just a thing, you just have your flag. And so you'll see that kind of pop up throughout the show. And as like as someone with an Antiguan background, my dad is Antiguan, like, we're a population of like just around 100,000 people. So to see like your country's flag on a a mainstream television show is something that means really, really a lot. And
do you think I always want to have a joke for that. I'll have one of those as well. No, I think you're bidding like that. Is the time like the message though is very authentic and powerful that Black Lives Matter, even if even in a sort of a cartoony environment, in terms of action and stuff. Do you feel that the time is really right to deliver that message with a show like this?
I think the time has always been right.
Right.
I think we're late. I think we're incredibly late.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're right. But sometimes audiences aren't as up to speed, especially in countries that are very divided now, that this show will really break out. It really looks different. You must be proud to be part of something like that.
I'm incredibly proud. I'm incredibly proud of the show and everyone involved. And just particularly the message that, the message that's behind it, it is showing the community in a positive light, as much as there are the trials and tribulations that, everyone goes through. It's really got heart, and it really ultimately, is positive. It's pushing something positive, fighting for what you believe in.
One last short question.
Yeah, go for it.
Is it claustrophobic wearing those neon masks?
So claustrophobic. Oh my God. It was like I had to train myself.
Yeah.
I had to go to a meditative place, particularly in the beginning, because as the show was progressing, they were tweaking to make it more breathable. But in the beginning, oh my goodness me. It was really, really difficult.
I bet.
And because it wasn't only the mask, it was I had a balaclava.
Right.
And I had some gear underneath, and then gloves, and then a hood, and there was a thing around my neck. And I think it was I had to change the balaclava because I kind of felt that as well as that, and I was like, it's too much. So we had to get a looser one for around my neck.
Couldn't you get a stunt double to just wear the? You could probably be in the trailer.
At times it was a double, but a lot of the time it was me for the physicality.
Very good.
Of it, yeah.
After these messages, my conversation with the co-creator of Robyn Hood, Director X. What's new this month on Super Channel? Well, for one thing, get ready to meet the royal mob. Think the Sopranos were a murderous crime family? Forget about it. Fact is, Great Britain's royal family had control of much of Europe and beyond under Queen Victoria. The royal mob is told through the eyes of Her Highness's favorite granddaughters, each of whom married into European royal courts. The series combines scripted drama with commentary from expert historians to tell the tale of one of the most compelling, powerful, yet dysfunctional families in history. The Royal Mob premieres October 15th on Super Channel Fuse. And remember, Super Channel, an all-Canadian service, is available via most cable providers across the country, as well as streaming live and on demand with Amazon Prime Video channels and Apple TV+. Check out the new streaming channel, Super Channel Plus, available now on the Roku platform in Canada. Well, you've loved her on Mary Makes It Easy. Now she's cooking up a whole new series called The Good Stuff with Mary Berg. What's it all about, Mary?
It's called The Good Stuff with Mary Berg, and when we were talking about it and kind of developing the idea and working through what it was actually going to look like, the main thing we kept coming back to is just filling people's lives up, and that doesn't mean with always big flashy things, but just sharing stories from people doing good things from across Canada, sharing stories from people who are maybe more well-known who are doing good things. There will obviously still be food. Every day I'm going to cook something up that you can make at home, have cook-alongs with different chefs, hopefully get some guests to cook along, because I want to convince people that anybody can actually cook. Wow. But I'm really excited to learn. I'm a lifelong trier, and I am so looking forward to learning from the different experts we're going to have on.
That's The Good Stuff with Mary Berg, weekdays at 10 a.m. on CTV. My guest today made a name for himself as one of the most in-demand music video directors in the business. Big name clients, how about Drake, Rihanna, Kanye West for starters? He's now the creator, showrunner, and director of an exciting new series, which just premiered and airs Wednesday nights on Global and Stack TV. Please welcome Director X. Director X, great to meet you this morning.
How you doing, man? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. You know, I'm happy. My last name is Brio. It's Brioux. So it's great to speak to someone else whose last name also ends in X.
Perfect.
Listen, you're from Toronto originally, right?
Yes.
Whereabouts did you grow up?
Brampton.
I live in Brampton.
Okay.
I'm talking to you from Brampton right now. That's awesome. A lot of interesting people have come from Brampton, right?
Oh yeah, it's a good town. We have a good success rate.
Did you grow up eating a.k.a. pizza?
Yeah, exactly.
I live I can walk there from here. So just to give you the bearing. So good to speak to another Bramptonian then. Listen, I really enjoyed Robyn Hood. I watched it twice, and it's an audacious series. It's obviously leans heavily into the legend of Robyn Hood, many references to Sherwood Forest, Nottingham, Little John, everything, but with a very modern, very socially relevant spin. How did you come up with that?
No, it just kind of hit me one day, like a modern day Robyn Hood would be a bit of a no-brainer, right? We could do something with that, and instead of building the team and making it happen.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Your lead, Jessye Romeo, she plays Robyn, English actress. I spoke with her back in June at the Upfronts in Toronto. Very stunning young woman, very strong presence in every meaning of the word. Fit, stylish, focused. How did you come to cast Jessye?
Searching for Robyn was a long process, and luckily Jessye has a Canadian mother and has her passport, so she qualified to be on the show.
That's perfect. And she is English and has a British accent. And I understand you had a voice coach on set, someone to help her disguise.
Not on set, but she definitely had to go through the business of being an actor and getting rid of that British accent and become a Canadian.
Yeah, it works. And likewise, Nakeem Provo is also from Toronto. You cast him as the soldier, Robyn's right-hand man, Little John. Where did you find him?
The casting process out here. He's been acting for a long time. So when the call went out, the tapes came in, and he was one of them. Yeah.
No, it's a great cast. Everybody is well cast. Friar Tuck. He's well known in the comedy community. And is he someone else you just saw for the part?
Yeah. Well, what was interesting with Tuck is that Tuck was actually written in the script. He's meant to be a Latino guy, and Jonathan just came and killed it.
Yeah.
We moved with things. We changed with things to land here. Yeah,
works really well. A show needs great villains, and you've got a couple in John Prince and the Sheriff. How important was it for you to find the right villains in the story?
Oh, of course. I mean, what's Star Wars without Darth Vader, right? Like you need really great villains to make a great show. You need someone you can love to hate, and they came through. Yeah, they're both really terrific. They're a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, they are. The choreography in the series, in the opening episode I've seen, is quite astounding. The music sequences, obviously, but the jousting and fighting. How complicated was that to set up? Did anybody get hurt? How did that go? No one got hurt. Everyone was really into it, really working hard, especially Nakeem. Nakeem was really into being an action star, so he put the work in to give us a great piece of choreography and all the stuff that comes with it.
Yeah, no, it really works. Were you a fan? Were you influenced by some of the Marvel or DC comic films? I'm thinking there's elements of Tim Burton's Batman a bit in this. I think was that somebody who you were a fan of?
I mean, of course, I'm a Tim Burton fan, but I wasn't watching any of that stuff trying to pull anything in. If anything, I was watching anime for inspiration of how they shot fights, right? So some of that straight to camera action, like I don't know how much you really dissect this stuff, but we did a bunch of stuff. Normally, when you see a fight scene, it's 2 shots, and you see 2 people doing whatever, right? And maybe some over the shoulders. But what we did is we actually had people punching right to the camera. Like there's stuff with the camera and them, and just gives it a new kind of edge. Just a little something you don't see every day when you're watching your usual action adventure stuff.
Yeah, no, it does come straight at you. The music sequences in the opener as well. Robyn has a band called The Hood, and they're masked. They wear these sort of blacklight masks. It's all shot very dark. Was that all in your head right from the start in terms of the music and the look of the series?
No, actually. Initially, the idea was like, we'll do a modern day Robyn Hood. And then Stephen Lally was brought in by the producers. You have Lou T. Media and 11th Hour Films, and they brought in Stephen Lally, and he pitched the idea that Robyn is spelled with a Y, and we make it a girl. Yeah. And that they're in a band. They make music. Mm-hmm. So that was that. Yeah. But directing those scenes must have been fun for you. I mean, directing the whole thing is fun for me, you know what I mean? But that I know that stuff pretty in and out, right? So
yeah,
giving us something that felt good but shot fast.
Yeah, it really grabs you right off the start and toward the end. The music is quite varied. You've got some real jazz. You've got some dance music. What when you were planning this out, what was important to you to have in that mix?
The music that they make is inspired by ballet funk, Brazilian hip hop, essentially. I wanted the music to not distract. I wanted it to feel good and be like, okay, it's hip hop, but not so much that you start thinking, this isn't as good as the stuff I normally hear. So for that, I went down that whole other direction. That's why those beats are very unusual. They're not so unusual that you notice, but when you go, there isn't really a beat. It's just right? But it still worked, and it still has a thing that drives you. So I was really happy with how we were able to make some real records. And we're releasing Run This Hood.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's dropping. You'll be able to hear Run This Hood out in the world very soon.
That's the song at the end of the first episode. And I can see that working. And it just explain again, we're going deep into this a bit, but you're right about there doesn't sound to my ear to be like real percussion in terms of drums. It's just those electric noises, right?
Yeah.
True? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a beat in the traditional sense. It's, it's just this crazy stuff. Right. But I love it. I enjoy the music, and I knew that this would give us something. It would remove us a bit from what you're used to.
Yeah, no kidding. And now I'm curious too. Obviously, your story, we'll explain it a bit for listeners. Just there's Robyn, her family, her mom, her sister live in Sherwood, which is an affordable housing tower in Nottingham, and there is a sheriff who's bloodless and evil, who is in cahoots with John Prince, this developer who's heartless and just wants this last building so he can rip it down and build a very pricey condo farm, basically, right? Yeah. So this sounds an awful lot like Toronto, right?
I mean, it's real life, right? Everywhere you go, these condos are getting put up. We were inspired by the new era housing estates in London, where the mothers really fought. Russell Brand got very involved in this.
Wow.
Back, this is maybe 10 years ago. It was a while ago now.
Yeah.
But, the government wanted to tear down this housing estate and build something else and kick these people out. And they're like, why do we have to move? Just because now you want the house? Now you want, It's a legitimate question that I feel like, because they're poor people, they must get up and leave their life so some rich man can be richer building some horrible condo.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the world we're in, and we shine a light on it.
We'll be back with Director X in just a moment. Time once again to speak with Emily Gagne from Hollywood Suite. Emily, it's our favorite time of year. What do you got?
Well, we've got all the tricks and treats you can handle, Bill. It's Shocktober, as we like to call it at a Hollywood Suite, which means we're playing as many horror movies as we can. Everything from The Exorcist, the version you've never seen before.
What? A version I've never seen before?
Yeah, there's many versions of The Exorcist, as you know.
Okay, all right.
But you got to see this one because you've never seen it before.
Correct.
Also, we've got The Lost Boys, which is a fan favorite. Everybody loves it. But we've got Scream, and we're premiering Get Out, finally. The iconic modern horror masterpiece by Jordan Peele. It's finally coming to the service. On the other side of the pond, we have a series called The Wreck coming. It's an exclusive to Hollywood Suite series. It's set on a cruise ship. It's about a killer wearing a duck mask. I'm telling you, you've got to watch it. It came to Hulu in the States, but it's finally landing here in Canadian waters on Hollywood Suite on October 5th. I highly recommend it.
Well, there it is. It's Wreck. Go see it. It's cheaper than taking a real cruise and twice as scary. Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Bill.
This month, it is Goodbye Seattle, Hello Again Boston, as Frasier returns to television, this time in a brand new series streaming exclusively on Paramount+. Kelsey Grammer, who played the fussy psychiatrist for 20 consecutive seasons on Cheers and Frasier, returns as Dr. Frasier Crane. Now, I have to admit, I was skeptical at first, especially when I heard Grammer would be supporting himself with an entirely new cast. Did it before, however, and quite successfully on Frasier. And having seen the first 3 episodes of this new series, he's done it again. Frasier moves back to Boston, where he reconnects with his son Freddie, played by Jack Cudmore Scott. He also returns to Harvard, where he gets reacquainted with his old pal Alan, played by Nicholas Lyndhurst. And for those of us who miss Frasier's brother Niles, meet Niles and Daphne's son and Frasier's nephew, David. Definitely a chip off the old germophobic block. So say cheers to a brand new Frasier, premiering October 12th, with new episodes available to stream every Thursday. And remember, there's a mountain of entertainment on Paramount+. And we're back with Robyn Hood's Director X. We're just talking about the look of the show and how the social relevance and the issues that are explored. It's fascinating, and how the mayor, in the opening episode, pushes back against John Prince. And so these issues were obviously quite important to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, luckily, rich people and city politicians would never abuse their positions of power against the common man, right? So just
oh yeah, all right.
Yeah, wild imagination. It says just making stuff up. And
Listen, I live, just a few kilometers away from the green belt and all this monkey business going on with developers that people in Ontario will be well aware of. So yeah, I get your point. Let's move on to other stuff here. I'm curious too about the Robyn Hood story. I mean, did you ever see the 1938 Errol Flynn film? Are you a fan of that?
I was. I mean, I watched it more so in this context, but we all know that imagery.
Yeah.
Right. He was actually a great sword fighter. I was really impressed with his choreography in that movie. But then we've seen it all. We know that him on the rope, and he swings up and he lands on the tree branch and wearing the green outfit. And we know this. We know this legend so well, right? To that point, you feel like you watched that movie even though you haven't. And yeah,
it's a great film. I mean, that's one of the first color action films ever. And I remember there was an old movie buff I used to work at TV Guide. He would come in, Harry Purvis, who was old enough to have seen that as a youngster, and it remained his favorite film forever.
Wow.
It's a pretty cool movie. When I was growing up, there was an barely animated Rocket Robin Hood.
I remember Rocket Robin Hood. Come on, man. Rocket Robin Hood.
The image of Friar Tuck, he would take a bite out of a chicken leg and then throw it over his shoulder. And then, that was the whole animated sequence, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have fond memories of Rocket Robin Hood. I mean, we're both Canadian, right? Grew up out here. That was some real essential Saturday morning cartoon stuff right there.
Absolutely. Now, beyond the first episode, viewers are going to meet a dangerous new bad guy, a psychopathic gangster, right? Guy Gisborne. Can you tell me a bit about what's in store with this character?
Well, Guy Gisborne, what happens in a lot of the Robin Hood movies and TV shows is they don't know what to do with Guy. So a lot of times they make Guy work with the sheriff, right? So like in that Errol Flynn version, Guy just worked one of the sheriff's people. In the Kevin Costner version, there is no John Prince. There is no Prince John. It's just they essentially made the sheriff Prince John and made Guy Gisborne the sheriff, right? Guy Gisborne is right-hand guy. So, but in the original legend, Guy Gisborne is an assassin hired to kill Robin. So it was important for us to stay true to the legend. And some points, even going back past what you regard as the legend. So Guy Gisborne in our version is a guy from another neighborhood who has history with the Sherwood Towers, with Little John, with Lionheart. Lionheart is also
a
character in our show. Like Robin, in the original legend, Robin was not royalty. I know in the current versions of Robin Hood, Robin is a part of the nobility that ends up leading this group of merry men. In reality, that didn't happen until the middle and upper classes started getting in on the Robin Hood thing. And they wanted to see themselves in there. So they decided to make themselves, Robin was one of them. But originally Robin was just a yeoman, just a soldier, just a regular guy. So we brought that back as well.
Yeah, you've really done your homework. There's even a Maid Marian. There's, the references to all these characters. It's great.
They're all. It truly is Robin Hood.
Yeah.
This is Robin Hood.
Yeah. Who do you see as the audience for this show?
It's a young adult show, and really, if you enjoy superhero shows, if you enjoy, this kind of, I call it pretty people with superpowers. Even though no one has superpowers in the show, but this realm of television show, it's just good, easy to enjoy stuff. We know what world we're in, but we don't hit you too hard with messaging and grandstanding. It's just a fun TV show, man.
Yeah, it is indeed. Do you think too, young adult shows, I mean, this is pretty sophisticated in some ways, there's dark corners to it. The young audience today, they're just ready for action adventure on this level?
I think so. I mean, look, we were all young. We knew how the world worked, right? So this is, these kids nowadays know way more about it than we did. How everything's in their face. So that was really part of this, making something that's fun and young and deals in the world, but still not so message heavy that, you feel preached to.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no, good job. Listen, I'm curious too, just about your background a bit. Did you go to film school? Where did you get your?
I learned filmmaking on set, reading books, being in it, and the film school of life, the film school of fire. I moved to New York and was an intern for a pioneer in music videos named Hype Williams. And just got to be around him and learn in the moment.
Well, and you started, I know, reading through your credits, going all the way back to videos for Cardinal Official, Deborah Cox, Where did you? What was your first music video assignment?
My first music video was actually for Shot Claire. Did a video for a guy named Shot Claire, and we shot it on the Toronto Island. One of the first hip hop videos back then to say, "Look, we're from Toronto. Look at the CN Tower."
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, smart.
Yeah, man.
Pretty cool. Were other directors? What was an influence? Were there people whose style or directors that you just always admired?
Hype Williams was a big influence on me. David Fincher, massive. Spike Jonze, Michel Gondry, Francis Lawrence. These are all incredible directors, right? And yeah, man, those guys were true masters.
Okay, and talk to me a bit about you co-founded Operation Prefrontal Cortex. I read. Created to reduce Toronto gun violence through mindfulness and meditation. That sounds very interesting. Could you explain that a bit?
The violent and aggressive personality, when they looked at the brains of those individuals, they saw two parts of the brain that weren't like the average person. The prefrontal cortex was decision-making. It was too small. And the amygdala, which is emotional control, was too big. And meditation reverses that. Meditation gives volume to the prefrontal cortex and shrinks the amygdala, the exact opposite of the violent and aggressive brain. And the way someone gets to be in that position is growing up. If you're abused or neglected, in the studies, they call it brain damage, and they called it permanent brain damage in the things I read. The prefrontal cortex is smaller than the average and the amygdala is larger. So small decisions, big emotions. And abuse, neglect, and stress. So if you're stressed, your prefrontal cortex begins to shrink, your amygdala begins to get bigger, your emotions get big, your decisions get small. So you even know what a day of stress is like, let alone a week, let alone a life, right? So this gets into a lot of stuff, but meditation reverses this. So by bringing meditation into our schools, into our correctional facilities, and to our first responders, we can counteract the trauma of living in a bad neighborhood. We can counteract the trauma and stress of being a police officer and coming to a house to see someone had done something unspeakable to a child. These are all things that stick with you for a very long time and really affect you, right? Witnessing violence, being a victim of violence, being around violence, living in a neighborhood where you're afraid violence could happen at any time. These things all have very serious effects on the brain, and meditation can fix it. So the Operation Prefrontal Cortex is about spreading that message, spreading that word, and working to get meditation into these places.
Wow, that's fascinating. You're trying to turn it off right in the brain. That's brilliant. Are we going to see Robyn or Little John practice meditation? Is there any of that message in the series?
Not in the show, not in this season. It'd be great to fit that in. But again, the priority on the show was making a show. The priority on the show was making entertainment. And much as I would have loved to have included some messaging in there, because we definitely spoke about how, hey, what if this happened? What if that happened? And what, but, it would have been pushed in. It would have been forced. So hopefully there is a story-driven, natural way to bring this kind of conversation into the next season.
Well, you have to show them as outlaws first, right? I mean, you got to see them, that the side of it is exciting. But that's a fascinating endeavor. Congrats. I hope that that's something that takes root in a big way. And you meditate yourself, I imagine?
Of course.
Yeah, good for you.
But I'm a morning meditator. Before I get out of bed, I try and do a meditation.
Never meditate to Rocket Robyn Hood. That's my advice. It will put you in a trance just all by itself. Yes. Listen, just quickly about directors and writers and actors. We just heard that the writers have settled, or they're about to look at the deal, and hopefully will sign up, and hopefully actors soon. This obviously is good news. Are you heartened to hear that? Is that good news for Canada as well, do you think?
I hope so. I hope they made a good deal that really works, something that's fair for everybody, and that the other writers around the world get a fair deal themselves. Man, let's make some TV. Let's make some movies.
Exactly. All right. 3 quick questions. What are you watching right now? What's your favorite thing to stream, to watch, to binge?
Right now, I'm making my way through Ahsoka. I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting patiently on the next episode of Attack on Titan.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what else is there? And I'm just watching tons of Napoleon stuff right now. There's a couple. Yeah. There's some channels I like on YouTube. There's a channel called Kings and Generals, which they'll just go through battles in history. And lately, I've been doing Napoleon. But it's what no one told us is for thousands of years, or at least a good 1,000, people have been following around these. There've been essentially journalists at all these battles documenting, the cavalry came over the hill and then the infantry came over here and then the king was killed and then that, so there's Kings and Generals and battles. The whole channel is just them documenting historical battles. And like I said, lately I've been watching Napoleon stuff.
Wow, that's fascinating. Might be another updated version of that series from you someday.
Yeah, modern day Napoleon would be an interesting one to wrap my.
Yeah,
maybe Space Napoleon. Space Napoleon is actually.
You could have the planet Elba. That he's marooned.
Exactly. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Napoleon is terrific. I love that. Good idea.
Okay. Finally, I'm really, really curious to hear your answer to this. What is your all-time favorite TV theme song?
Sometimes you gotta where everybody knows your name.
Wow.
And they're always glad you came. Where everybody knows you.
This is a mind-blowing bonus to get Director X singing the Cheers theme on the podcast.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. I want to see that updated on Robyn Hood. Listen, congratulations on all your success. And Robyn Hood is on Wednesdays on Global and on Stack TV. Check it out. It's different. It's very audacious and lively, visually, vocally, every which way. So a fun show. So congratulations, Director X. Nice to meet you today.
Good meeting you too. Thank you.
Take care.
Peace.
Do we see the irony here, people? The guy who picks the song Where Everybody Knows Your Name as his all-time favorite TV theme song is none other than Director X, a guy who, well, hardly anybody knows his name, or his real name at least, which is Julien. So, still, cheers. Cheers to X, cheers to Julien, and cheers to the composers of the song, Gary Portnoy and Judy Hart Angelo.
Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? All those nights when you've got no lights, the check is in the mail.
Thanks as always to the man I call Producer X, Phil Hong. My thanks as well to the many publicists who bring great guests to the show each week. Big thanks to our sponsors, Hollywood Suite, Paramount Plus, CTV, and Super Channel. Special thanks to BJ Del Conte, Paul Boudra, and the Crispy Critters for the theme and incidental music used on this show. Finally, thank you to you, Listener X. If you enjoyed this episode, please favor us with a like or a review. I'm Bill Brio. Thanks for listening.